I have a very special message, an unusual one for me, and I'm pretty sure for you too, that I'm going to bring to you today. We're going to be speaking from the book Songs of Solomon. Now, you don't hear too many sermons come out of Songs of Solomon. And when the Lord gave this to me, I wondered, Songs of Solomon, because all this is a love story. But it's a very different type of love story when you begin to compare it with the love of Christ for the church. When you begin to compare the things that Solomon is saying to the Shulamite woman as Christ's love for the church, of his yearning and desire for the church, then you get a different meaning from this story. For I've heard this story over and over, but it has just now begun to get a significance to me, a deeper meaning of not only a love for a man has for a woman, but the love of God. Not only the woman's beauty, but her inner beauty. The beauty that comes from the spirit that's not outwardly, but within. Womanhood. And we're speaking of the beauty of womanhood. And of course, what Solomon is saying, this experience that he had, and the experience that the Shulamite maiden had. Beauty of womanhood. What is womanhood? Womanhood is a distinctive characteristic, a quality of a woman. It's the beauty, is the quality of things which give you pleasure. It gives the senses pleasure. When you see something beautiful, immediately you're drawn to that beauty. A beautiful painting, a beautiful house, a beautiful car, whatever. When you see something beautiful, you're attracted to it, even without thinking. When your eyes feast on something, you immediately become attracted to it. And so it is with Christ's love for us. Grace, of course, is a part of beauty, and it's the spirit of excellence. It's an excellent spirit. And I'm going to go now to Solomon in the Songs of Solomon. The Shulamite maiden was a virgin. And in the biblical days, the brothers of a maiden would try to protect her from being carried away with the lust of the flesh. In other words, when men came to woo her, they wanted to keep her pure so that when she married, she would be a virgin. Because you know the penalty, of course, in those days, that if you were not a virgin, you were guilty of a crime that would lead to being stoned to death. So they tried to protect their sister, and this is the way that the brothers in the biblical times always protected their sisters. They kind of, took care of them and saw about them and made sure that they were not no temptation came their way. So they put her in a vineyard, in a field, where she took care of the sheep. Now, she was protected because there's nobody else around, and her brothers, of course, would protect her from anybody coming near. So Solomon, king, all these wives and all these concubines, and of course, they said that in his palace were the daughters of Israel. They were beautiful women. The most beautiful women in the land were there, and they were at his disposal. And yet he's riding along with his chariots and all his regalia, and very impressive. And he rides by and spots this little black maiden. And her beauty was such that he was immediately drawn and attracted to her. Now, he had all the beautiful women of Israel, the daughters of Israel. They were beautiful, the most beautiful, because they were selected for him purposely. But yet he looked out in the field and saw this little maiden. And he was attracted to her beauty. And he stopped Now, he approached her. Many, many women, let's face it, would be thrilled. A king with all he has to offer, and he's offering you marriage. He has a palace and everything that your heart could desire. That is worldly things, you know. And yet this little maiden was not attracted to this king. I mean, with all his regalia, his horses and chariots and all his men, she was not impressed. She was not impressed. But he had his heart set on her. She was so beautiful. This is what he wanted. And he even said, let me take you back to the palace. I want everybody to see your beauty. I want them to see how beautiful you are. Now we're going to comparing Solomon's love and plead to the Shunammite woman as Christ's love for the church and his pleas to the church. Jeremiah 31:3 says, yea, I have loved thee with an everlasting love. Therefore with loving kindness have I drawn thee. The love that Solomon felt for this young maiden was like Christ's love for the church. Comparing the shepherd, the Shunammite maiden had met a shepherd, and they had agreed to meet again, and she was going to take him to her family and introduce him because she felt like that this was the love of her life and she wanted to be his wife. Now this shepherd, comparing this shepherd to Christ. Psalms, the 23rd chapter. The Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want. When temptations come, I shall not want. When flatteries and overtures of love come to me from someone else, I shall not want. Because this woman said, according to 2 Timothy 1:12, I know my shepherd. I know in whom I have believed. And I am persuaded that he is able to keep that which I have committed unto him. You see, she loved the shepherd. Yes, the king had money. Yes, the king had offered her jewels and things. You know, in the biblical days, the Shunammite women, and most women in those times, wore a little band around their head. And on that band was like gemstones and, you know. But he had told her he would take that off of her and fill it with jewels. All kind of jewels. He was offering her everything. He wanted this little Shunammite maiden. And he offered her all of this. But she said, I shall not want. Comparing the Shunammite woman's faithfulness as Christ's faithfulness and love to the church. And we're going to go to Jacob. And that's in Genesis, the 29th chapter and the 20th verse. You know the story of Jacob and Rachel. Jacob saw Rachel and he loved her. He desired to marry her. And so he went to her father